Here are your hosts, Jonfern and Vargy.
Welcome, pussy lickers, to the Boom Boom Room podcast. Unfortunately, Vargy couldn't make it to this episode because he was taking his date out to Boomers tonight. So, to fill in for Vargy, we have a very special guest coming in to co-host with me today. This person, she means so much to me. She's my number one. She's been with me since day one. She knows all about my fantasy roster because she was there on those nights where I was roster baiting. Please welcome Pamela Henderson. Hi. Yeah, it's great to be here, John. Nice to see you. You know, we really don't hang out much anymore. Well, you know, Pamela, I like to see you. You know, I like to talk to you too sometimes. Well, usually, I only get to see you 1 or 2 times a week for a couple minutes at a time when Michelle and the boys are away. But it's good to talk to you, and I look forward to tonight. It's gonna be a great time. Yeah, it's gonna be a great time. All right, guys, it's gonna be that kind of show tonight. So for today's episode, it's gonna be the Week 8. We're gonna do the Week 8 NFL matchups recap. We're gonna talk about the injuries and the trades around the NFL. Fantasy matchup recap. Call your shot, and then finally the Week 9 look ahead. So first, we're gonna talk about what happened around the NFL in Week 8. So the first matchup we're gonna talk about, unfortunately, is the Niners versus the Rams. So the Niners scored 31 points. Rams only scored 14. This was bad for the Rams, but good for the Niners because CMC looked good, man. He stole the show. He ran for 94 yards on 18 attempts. He 55 yards on 8 receptions. He even threw for a touchdown, 34 yards. He had a total of 3 touchdowns. This guy's unbelievable. And I'll tell you, you guys were all scared about drafting him and whatnot, but I knew this was going to be his year. Another guy that's looking like it's going to be his year is Brandon Ayuk. This is his 3rd straight week of top 20 wide receiver scoring in fantasy. This week he had 6 catches for 81 yards, 1 touchdown. Could this be the year Brandon Ayuk finally breaks out? You know, last year coming into the year, he was really talked about as a breakout potential last year, but he just never really happened. Got benched halfway through the season. Him and Shanahan kind of just had a falling out. But this year, I mean, could he possibly find some more looks in this offense? With Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, is there enough in that offense to go around to feed everybody? I think Brandon Ayuk might just be the man left hungry. He might go hungry this year because Christian McCaffrey, that man's going to eat. Deebo Samuel, they're going to find ways to get him the ball. He's going to eat. George Kittle, of course, is going to get looks from Jimmy G. They're practically best friends. I don't know if Brandon Ayuk can keep it going. So we'll see about that. And for the Rams, same old story. You know, it's that kind of season. It's just Cooper Kupp's. It's Cooper Kupp, and everybody else is a bunch of jerk-offs. Oh, a bunch of jerk-offs, huh? I know all about jerk-offs. That you do, Pamela. So the Bears. Next thing we're talking about, the Bears and the Cowboys. The Bears scored 29 points. Cowboys scored 49 points. They just went off on the Bears. Tony Pollard got the start over Zeke. And this guy, without surprise, I knew he was just going to go off. He went off for 131 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was averaging 9.4 yards a carry. And it seemed like a real 9.4 yards a carry. Every time the guy got the ball, he was getting 9 yards a carry. It was crazy. So, you know, after the game, Jerry Jones, he still wants to stick with Zeke. He said, and I quote, "We're going to go as Zeke goes. He's integral to our success this year." You know, why the hell does Jerry Jones keep wanting to stick with Zeke? I think it's because he paid him. He basically bought Zeke, and he doesn't want to admit that it was a bad purchase. Just like how Vargy doesn't want to admit that truck was a bad purchase. He's like, no, it's still good. It's still good. Even though he's got a perfectly good Fusion that gets 35 miles to the gallon, just like the Cowboys have a perfectly good Tony Pollard that gets 9.4 yards a carry. Just admit it. It was a bad purchase. Go with the reliable Fusion, the reliable Tony Pollard. It'll get you to work. It'll get 9.4 yards a carry. Just do it, Jerry Jones. What the hell, man? Tony Pollard, start his ass. Bengals, Browns. Bengals only scored 13 points. Browns scored 32. Man, this was a surprise. This was on Halloween. And man, that was a spooky matchup because Nick Chubb, 23 carries, 101 yards, 2 titties, got a nice pair of tits there. This guy, he eats good every week, much like my colleague Michael Vargas. He eats good every single day. Amari Cooper also ate 5 catches, 131 yards. This guy, Amari Cooper, is the number 8 wide receiver in fantasy up to this point this year. Me and Juanito Soto, my primo, we had a bet who would have a better fantasy season, Amari Cooper or Christian Kirk. And right now, Amari Cooper's number 8, but Christian Kirk's number 14. So it's going to be close this year. Juanito, I'm going to come after you for that $20 if I actually get it with Amari Cooper this year. And Joe Burrow coming into this matchup for the Bengals, he was coming in red hot. I know my colleague Michael Vargas over here is sucking this guy's dick pretty much all season up until this point. But man, did the Bengals just take shit to bed, man, against the Browns. The Browns cooled him off. He only threw for, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, but the last touchdown was like a 41-yard last-minute touchdown to T. Higgins. Kind of saved the day, really, for T. Higgins. T. Higgins only had 2 catches for 8 yards before that last catch and late in the fourth quarter. I really thought T. Higgins was going to go off. I think everybody thought T. Higgins was just going to go off. I know Taku got T. Higgins are trying to sound high right now. But honestly, I don't think with Jamar Chase being out, that's going to really benefit T. Higgins. Because remember when Juju Smith and Antonio Brown, they were the wide receiver combo in Pittsburgh? I think, when Antonio Brown went down, Juju didn't do much because the defense can focus just on that player. So much like Jamar's gone, so now defense focuses on T. Higgins, and he's just not the alpha for that group. You have the wide receiver that works well in conjunction with another great wide receiver. He's the beta. He's not the alpha like my colleague Michael over here. He's not the alpha. So you just really, I don't think T. Higgins has it to be the number 1 wide receiver in that offense. So Taco, keep looking. I don't think I'm going to want T. Higgins from you, buddy. Unless I give you a bag of Doritos, then I'll take them. But injuries around the NFL this week. So Jonathan Taylor for the Colts tweaked his ankle. And this is the same ankle that kept him out for 2 games earlier this year. So, D-Rock, I know you still have Deion Jackson on your bench, and that's awesome because, if Jonathan Taylor's out, you could just slide Deion Jackson right in. It's very, very powerful to have handcuffs in your fantasy season. Oh, handcuffs, huh? Remember that time you tried to use handcuffs that one time? Yeah, let's not talk about that. Yeah, it didn't work out very well for you, did it? All right. Cooper Kupp's ankle got rolled up ugly. And I was like, so it was like late in the fourth. We're already down 31-14. He's still in there. He catches the ball. There's like 1 minute left. He gets his ankle rolled up ugly. They say he's day to day. I think he'll fight through it, but I still don't think he's going to be 100% come this weekend. So I don't know. You may want to temper your expectations there for Cooper Kupp this weekend. Other than that, there weren't any very big injuries around the NFL. But there were some big trades that happened for Tuesday's trade deadline. The first trade I'm going to talk about is T.J. Hawkinson to the Vikings. And in my opinion, I think this kind of hurts T.J. Hawkinson's fantasy value. I'll tell you why. He goes from being like the number 2 wide receiver, or in targets on a they need him for the Lions. They don't need him for the Vikings. They don't need him to be an integral part of that offense, just like the Lions needed him. So I think this actually hurts T.J. Hawkinson's value. And in a year where you drafted T.J. Hawkinson to be top 4, top 5 tight end, I don't think he's going to return on that value, especially in the Vikings offense. You got Justin Jefferson, you got Dalvin Cook, you got Alexander Madison, you got all these guys to spread the ball around. Chase Claypool to the Bears. This is another guy where it hurts his fantasy value. Justin Fields isn't throwing the ball. At the Steelers, he was the guy behind Deontay Johnson, of course. But he was like the deep threat guy, and he was getting lots of targets. He was looking good. He's really building that connection with Kenny Pickett. And now he gets traded to the Bears where he doesn't even know the quarterback. They're not throwing him that often. He probably only gets like 16 attempts a game. So even if he gets half of those attempts, I mean, that's 8 targets a game, which is very unlikely. 50% target share is crazy. So I think this hurts Chase Claypool. I think Taco, you have him this year. Good luck with that. Broncos traded for Chase Edmonds. Juanito, I know you have Chase Edmonds. This is good for his value. This is another thing where it actually helped Chase Edmonds' value because right now he wasn't doing shit for the Dolphins. The Broncos gave up some draft capital to get this guy because they are in need of a running back. And they're going to use Chase Edmonds to the best of his abilities with his pass catching abilities out of the backfield. This is a good thing. Maybe you got a solid flex play for the rest of the year in Chase Edmonds. And my guy. My name is Jeff. He got traded to the Dolphins. So I was worried. When the CMC trade happened, I was like, fuck, I basically lost Jeff Wilson, and he was looking good this year before the trade. So now Jeff Wilson steps into an offense that has Tyreek Hill. It has Jalen Waddle. You got Tua. That offense is high power, and Jeff Wilson is just going to dominate in that offense. And I'm happy because I got a number 2 wide receiver with a possible high-end flex. So I'm very, very happy when this trade happened. I know, Juanito, you texted me, you said, "You're the luckiest motherfucker." I was so pumped when I saw that trade. Another trade here, Nyheim Hines. Nyheim Hines went to the Bills. That's another high-powered offense. He is a pass-catching backer with explosive capabilities, home run capabilities in that offense, and that's going to be worth some value there in fantasy. Could be a solid flex play again. And the interesting one here is Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney got traded to the Chiefs. Another high-power offense there. You want a piece of that puzzle. You want a piece of that pie. For high power offense, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Dolphins, all those high power, high flying offenses, you want guys on that team. Kadarius Toney just got traded to a high flying offense, and he is so gifted, guys. If you haven't seen this guy play, look up his highlights. He is the human joystick at wide receiver. He is just shifty. He's fast. Only problem is staying on the field. This guy cannot stay healthy. If he says he's healthy now. After the trade, he said he's fully healthy, so he's gonna play this week. We'll see how they can fit him into their offense, but I'm excited to see that. Kadarius Toney. So for news around the Revolutionary War. So. The first matchup, we're going to talk about the fantasy matchups that happened last week. So the first matchup we're going to talk about is Vargy versus me. This was our BBR matchup of the week. Vargy only scored 95 points. I kicked his ass. I scored 152. Vargy, I just got one message for you, my friend.
You suck.
You fucking suck, dude. You failed to reach 100 points. You've lost 5 straight games. It's not looking good. And it wasn't just because Patrick Mahomes had a bye last week, Vargy. You got killed. It didn't make a difference if Patrick Mahomes started or not. You started Rashad Bateman, who came limping into the game. He got you a goose egg on Thursday night. It's tough to overcome a goose egg on Thursday night. Your mentality is just fucked up. You're going into Sunday already down. I came rolling in and boom! Hit you with that CMC. All right. So, honestly, guys, no bullshit. I feel like I can win out the rest of the year. My team is looking good. I think I can make a playoff run, and you guys are in trouble. If my team can stay healthy, you guys are in trouble. I know you guys don't like talking about it. You guys don't like giving me props, but I know my team's scary. Look at my team. Look at it right now. It's fucking scary. All right. Santi. Next matchup. Santi versus D-Rock. Santi scored 157. D-Rock only scored 98. Tay, for the second week in a row, you just smashed your opponent like a grape. Granted, these were smaller opponents. It was D-Rock and Vincent. But you still just smashed them like a grape. Tay, you just dominated. Your kicker, Nick Folk, scored 21 points. That was more than Jonathan Taylor. Let me see. Let me get it right here. That was D-Rock. You start all these guys. That was more than Jonathan Taylor. That was more than George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, and Will Lutz. Combined, 4 guys in his starting lineup combined didn't score more than your kicker. That is when you know you just absolutely crushed your opponent. Now, D-Rock, I know you're a little worried right now, my friend, because Jonathan Taylor, #1 overall pick in fantasy, just been disappointing. Aside from week 1, I know you felt good after week 1, but let me tell you this. Week 1, he scored 28.5 points. And then from there, it went 7.3, 12.1, 3.3, 0-0 because he missed those 2 games with an ankle injury, 15.5, and then 5.6. He's running back 33 on the season. He hurt his ankle again last week. He's probably going to be out for an extended period of time this time. You just spent a high draft pick on a guy that's running back 33, probably got better production out of a 3rd round backer out of this at this point. You may consider trading him before the trade deadline, November 11th. If you could still get like the name value out of him, then do it. Like if you could convince, maybe Vincent. Maybe Vincent is looking for a running back. Just say, hey, Jonathan Taylor, I'll give you Jonathan Taylor for a value. Like if you could get like a good wide receiver, a good running back from him, just from the namesake, I might consider that. Next matchup here, Bill versus Juan. This was a high-flying matchup. This is a high-scoring back-and-back matchup. Bill scored 152. My primo Juan, good effort. You scored 141, but just wasn't enough. Just wasn't enough to top Bill and King Henry. King Henry, man. Bill, you just rode the back of King Henry during this matchup. He went off, man. He scored 100, or he ran for 219 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, Bill, you just have a bunch of home run hitters on your team. You have guys like Derrick Henry. I think you got Tyreek Hill, Devonta Smith. Any one of these guys can just go off like Derrick Henry just did, and just win you the matchup. So, you just got a bunch of firecrackers on your team just waiting to go off. Much like this firecracker that's just waiting to go off on Halloween. And anyways, so Bill, you're a dangerous team. I don't want to face you in the playoffs. So, with those guys, that's very dangerous. Just like this firework. This next matchup was a heartbreaker. Oh, Matt scored 151. Tony scored 151.3. Just edging out Matt for the victory. But honestly, Matt, of these 2 teams, I think you're the better team. I mean, Tony's running back situation it's just not a good situation. As my colleague Michael would say. I think you are a very strong team. You have a 96% chance to make the playoffs. So you pretty much already locked up a playoff spot. I think with the win next week, you'll be 100%. Don't get down about this week. I know it's a heartbreaker, but I think you're gonna go far this year. Hang in there, kid. Going next to Drew. The Drew versus Taco matchup. Whew. Taco scored 114 points. Drew scored 96, failing to reach the 100-point threshold. Look who's on a winning streak. Taco, my man. Taco, you pulled back-to-back victories, man. I never thought I could see the day. You got 3 total wins. You're on your way up, man. Your wide receivers are carrying you just like last year. Could you get on a run this year and make another run to the championship? Just get hot at the right time. Those wide receivers, those 3 wide receivers you got, I think you got like 4 or 5 good wide receivers. They could carry you, man. And Drew, so last week I bet Vargy, so I'll pay up. Vargy, I bet you a shot that Drew would win. I just bet on him because I thought I could motivate him at DG2 to try to set his lineup correctly, but apparently not. His lineup fucking sucks, so. Drew, your team's just in full rebuild mode. You only got a 3% chance to make the playoffs, man. Drew, that shot that you take, it may be good for your back, but it's bad for your fantasy team. Because right now, your fantasy team is looking like shit.
Got him!
And next up
Got him!
is our alpha of the week. Mega, you put up 179 points versus Vincent. Mega, all 3 of your wide receivers just went off. You had Jalen Waddle, 31.6 points. Okay. DeAndre Hopkins, 34.9 points. AJ Brown, 40.6 points. Are you kidding me? 3 guys. These 3 guys, you could have beat D-Rock. You could have beat Drew. Their entire team didn't score as much as these 3 guys combined. Talk about guys carrying you. These 3 guys freaking carried your team, and they could carry you all the way to the championship this year. I was looking at your draft, Mega. Your first 5 rounds hit. They absolutely hit. That's what's carrying you right now. Joe Mixon, Leonard Fournette, DeAndre Hopkins, Jalen Waddle, and AJ Brown. Those were your first 5 picks. They all of them hit. So, 5 for 5. The rest of your draft was a little questionable, but where it mattered, you really knocked it out of the park there with those picks. And next, we're going to talk about the waiver wire. After a couple of trades around the NFL, this really spiked up the interest on our waiver wire for a couple of guys. So, Kadarius Toney, I talked about this guy earlier. Matt got him. He ended up putting an $18 bid in for Kadarius Toney. Nobody else put a bid in him, but I think you got a true weapon there in Kadarius Toney, Matt, on a high-power offense. D-Rock added another guy on a high-powered offense. That's what you want. Nyheim Hines for $18. Only one was the only one who put another bid on. $2. Nobody else wanted Nyheim Hines? Come on, guys. He's going to the Bills. Pass catching. That's what you guys... Vincent. Oh, you have no money. I forgot. You'll have $1 left. Freaking stupid. You're stupid. Where's my shit here? Hold on. Vincent, you spent all your money.
You stupid.
You're stupid. And Vargy, I saw you put in, you picked up Romeo Dobbs again. This is like your 3rd time, and I saw you also put in a bid on Mecole Hardman again, but you already didn't have enough room on your roster, so you couldn't pick him up. But I know you had a bid in on him. What the hell, man? All right, week 9, look ahead. Let's. Where is it at? Fuck it. Whatever. Alright, week 9, look ahead. Okay, if you're going to make the playoffs, this week is where you just got to turn things around. This is where you want to start your run. If you only got 2, 3 wins, 4 wins, this is where you have to start. And with the trade deadline, next Friday is the trade deadline, so you got to make a choice. Am I going to risk it and make a move? Or am I just going to play it safe and, just fall behind? So... this is the week. You got to make some decisions. Vargy, you got a big matchup this week versus Matt. Could you lose 6 in a row? You were the co-host of a fantasy football podcast show, and you're going to lose 6 games in a row? It's just not a good situation. It's just not. So, Vargy, you have another captain out this week. Saquon Barkley's out. I don't know if you could do it. I think Matt's going to just kick your ass this week. So, Matt, you are rock hard. You are rock hard and just throbbing right now. Rock hard and throbbing. I'm telling you, you are firing all cylinders, all 4 cylinders of your Honda. Drew versus Jay. This matchup, the DG2 matchup. Drew, I got one message for you here.
I'm gonna slash and gash, cut another hole in your ass. I still blood on my walls and play tennis with your balls. If the phone rings, don't answer that call. You're gonna slip your throat, fuck you like a goat, peel your foreskin off and make a winter coat. Peace.
That was my message to you, Drew. I could eliminate you, Drew. I could just smash all your playoff dreams, all your hopes and dreams for playoffs this year could just be smashed with one victory by me this week. So I think I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna take you out back. I'm gonna put you out of your misery. I'm just gonna take you out back like old Yeller and just, oh, Yeller. Dead. BBR Game of the Week is D-Rock versus Juan. D-Rock and Juan are both sitting at 4-4. There's a lot riding on the line here. There's a big difference between 5-4 and 4-6. Like I said, this is the week you want to make some moves. This is where you make a run. Juanito, you can start your run. Let's get ready. Let's get stretching because we're going to go for a run. All right. This week, next, moving on to Call Your Shot. Let's see. Oh, man, I'm way too... There it is.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Last week's Call Your Shot was Christian McCaffrey. Vargy, it was 18.5 fantasy points. He scored like 40. He was way the hell over 18 points. So Vargy, if you're watching, which you probably aren't, which many people probably aren't by now after the first couple minutes, but I'll still take the shot. Cheers. Vargy took the over. I took the under. This week's Call Your Shot. I know nobody's here. Pamela's here. So, Pamela, this week's Call Your Shot is Vargy's Romeo Dobbs. You can speak for Vargy on behalf of Vargy. So, Romeo, he's been pretty solid this week. He's projected to have 10.7 points. Over the last 6 of the last 8 weeks, he's had 5 or more targets. Do you think he can continue it this week?
Yeah, I don't think he's got what it takes, so I'm gonna take the under. I don't think he's a real alpha. He's not an alpha. You have to be an alpha, and he just doesn't have it.
I disagree, Pamela. I think with this week, with Alan Lazard being out, a poor Lions secondary, he's going to continue to get, 5, 6, 7, 8 targets a game, maybe even more this week with Alan Lazard being out. He's going to be the guy for Aaron Rodgers this weekend, so I'm going to take the over. I know you like the under, so if the under hits, or if the over hits, Vargy has to take a shot. So are you sure about that, Pamela?
Yeah, I'm sure. I think he's going to go under.
Okay, all right. You heard it here, Vargy. Final thoughts, wrapping up our podcast. Pamela, what are your final thoughts?
I'd love to stick around and give you my final thoughts, but I got a date with some guy that drives a Chevy Colorado, and we're gonna go to Boomers, and then we're gonna cruise Blackstone after. So I gotta get